Hello and welcome to iQuanta's YouTube channel dedicated to your success as a B School aspirant. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I am Vikrant, your personal coach for all things related to English, VARC, language, and then subsequently, of course, communication skills and mental aspects of preparation. So here I am starting a new series for you called 100 Passages with 100 percentiler, which is going to be me. So you know that I have 100% and 100 percentile in the VARC section of the CAT. So I do teach you a lot of different concepts and then I talk about the approaches. All that is fine. But then, you know what can help you get an edge? Practicing more of those passages with me, where the goal at the end of my course is to ensure that when you approach a question, you start thinking the way I think. You attack that question the way I attack it. You eliminate the options the way I eliminate it. And that is how a great score is possible for you as well. So in this particular series, we will go through 100 high quality passages together. And by the end of it, if you are regular, if you keep on working, chances are very, very high that the next time around when you solve a question and you're stuck, you'll ask yourself, hey, how will Vikrant approach it? And you'd know exactly how I want to approach it. So have fun with these passages, work on these with me, and we'd of course continue for 99 more sessions. Let's start. So let us go ahead and dive into the passage. So it talks about something called stoicism. But before you and I start discussing it, I think it'll be a great idea for you to read it and attempt it. And once you are done, we can of course go ahead, read it together and solve the questions together. So my suggestion, hit that pause button, read this. Once you're done reading it, play. We should take you to the next slide. So I'll keep a gap of around 3-4 seconds between those transitions. Then there are going to be questions. And after the questions, we will come back and look at it again. So here is your slide 1. Next. Next. So I hope by now you have read the passage. So here is question number 1. So pause, answer the question and then proceed further. Question 2. Question 3. And question 4. So, I hope by now you have gone through the passage and attempted all the questions. Let us join me for a discussion now. So, it talks about Stoicism, which was founded by the Greek philosopher Zeno. Now, you know where this term comes from. In the Greek architecture, we happen to have this feature called stoa. So this is what a stoa looks like. So you notice a long covered walkway. So Zeno used to preach while standing on a stoa. And that is why the philosophy came to be known as Stoicism, right? So it was founded in 300 BC and survived into the Roman era until about AD 300, so a 600-year span. Now, according to the Stoics, emotions consist of 2 movements. The first movement is the immediate feeling and other reactions. So what other reactions? Physiological responses. So the responses that get triggered in your body. So this first response occurs when a stimulus or event occurs. So whenever something happens to you, you have this first response, which is linked with feeling and some associated physical responses. For instance, consider what could have happened if an army general accused Marcus Aurelius of treason in front of other officers. So treason basically means showing no loyalty to your country, especially when you help your enemies in a war. So Marcus Aurelius, accused by a general of treason in front of everybody. The first movement for Marcus may have been surprise and anger, but these are internal in response to this insult, accompanied perhaps by some involuntary physiological and expressive responses such as face flushing and a movement of the eyebrows. So you notice, so when you say expressive responses, these are basically gestures or features that the other person is able to notice. The second movement is what one does next about the emotion. Second movement behaviors occur after thinking and are under one's control. So these things, somehow it suggests that the first response is instinctive. It happens on autopilot, we don't control it. But the second response that takes place after thinking is under our control. So examples of second movements for Marcus might have included a plot to seek revenge, action signifying deference and appeasement. Okay, so deference and appeasement is like you consider that other person important, so you'd like to ensure that he remains in your good books and you try to placate him or please him, or perhaps proceeding as he would have proceeded whether or not this event occurred. So indifference is also an option. So continuing to lead the Romans in a way that Marcus Aurelius believed best benefited them. In the Stoic view, choosing a reasoned, unemotional response as the second movement is the only appropriate response. So now we know about Stoicism, two types of responses, and it is the second unemotional response that Stoics prefer. Next paragraph. The Stoics believed that to live the good life and to be a good person, we need to free ourselves of nearly all desires, such as too much desire for money, power, sexual gratification. Prior to second movements, we can consider what is important in life. Money, power, and excessive sexual gratification are not important. Character, rationality, and kindness are important. The Epicureans, now we are moving from Stoics to the Epicureans. That was another competing philosophy, an alternate philosophy. The Epicureans, first associated with the Greek philosopher Epicurus, that is why the name, held a similar view, believing that people should enjoy simple pleasures such as good conversation, friendship, food and wine, but not be indulgent in these pursuits and not follow passion for those things that hold no real value like power and money. So some similarities. Okay, although it's not exactly similar, but yes, the root is that you would not like to go overboard, not be guided by the emotions or things like power and money. So as Oatley says, or as Oatley states, the Epicureans articulated. To articulate is to express, to give words to something. So they articulated a view. What was the view? Enjoyment of relationship with friends, of things that are real rather than illusory, simple rather than artificially inflated, possible rather than vanishingly unlikely. That is certainly relevant today. So they articulated a view. The view is enjoy relationships with friends. Then basically of things that are real rather than illusory. So value things that are real. Value simple over what is artificially inflated. Value things which are possible instead of things which are vanishingly unlikely. So that is certainly relevant today. In sum, these ancient Greek and Roman philosophers saw emotions, especially strong ones, as potentially dangerous. They viewed emotions as experiences that needed to be reined in and controlled. Okay, and then, as Oatley points out, the Stoic idea bears some similarity to Buddhism. Buddha, living in India in the 6th century BC, argued for cultivating a certain attitude that decreases the probability of, in Stoic terms, destructive second movements. So Buddha did not use this. But if you look at his ideology, you would say that in a way what he's saying is consistent with the second movement of Stoicism, where you think and then act. Then through meditation and the right attitude, one allows emotions to happen to oneself. It is impossible to prevent this, but one is advised to observe the emotions without necessarily acting on them. One achieves some distance and decides what has value and what does not have value. Okay. Additionally, the Stoic idea of developing virtue in oneself, of becoming a good person, which the Stoics believed we could do because we have a touch of the divine, laid the foundation for the three monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. As with Stoicism, tenets is basically principles, guiding beliefs. Tenets of these religions include controlling our emotions lest we engage in sinful behavior. So basically saying control your behaviors, control your emotions, because if you do not do that, you may end up engaging in behavior that is considered sinful, immoral, unethical. So with that, let's go ahead and look at our question. So question number 1. On the basis of the passage, which one of the following statements can be regarded as true? So the moment I see this, I know that it is going to be either a specific detail question where the answer is written somewhere, though it is in the exams like the CAT and the ZAT, the answers are not written as it is. You may still need to interpret and then determine, or for that matter, it can also turn out to be an inference-based question where you need to conclude things and then determine whether they are true or not. So let's see, let's go ahead and start. The Epicureans believed in controlling all emotions. True or not true? So here is the part about Epicureans. What do they say? They believe that people should enjoy simple pleasures, but not be indulgent in these pursuits, and not follow passion for those things that hold no real value. So these are the things that they articulated. On the basis of this, can I say they believed in controlling all emotions? No, this is not something that we can infer from it. So we call it not true, and therefore I think we can rule it out. There were no Stoics in India at the time of the Roman civilization. We don't know. Data insufficient. We know Stoicism happened from 300 BC to 300 AD. We know Buddhism, I think 600 BC according to the last passage, the last paragraph of the passage. But whether we had Stoics in India at that time or not is something that cannot be determined on the basis of the information provided. So can't say or not true. How about C? The Stoic influences can be seen in multiple religions. Can we? Let me take you to a part in the last paragraph. So you look at this. The Stoics believed we could do because we have a touch of the divine. That laid the foundation for three monotheistic religions. So if that laid the foundation, it definitely went ahead and influenced, and therefore this is true. How about D? The Stoics valorized the pursuit of money, power, and sexual gratification. So they supported these things. No, they were actually against these things. So even this is in fact false. So even this can be ruled out. So A, B, and D are eliminated. C is true. Therefore, that is the one that we should choose as our answer. Here is your question number 2. So which one of the following statements, if false, could be seen as contradicting the facts or arguments in the passage? Now you notice it has two things: if false, contradicting the facts or arguments in the passage. So to treat each one of these as false, and then, so when you want to treat them as false, you say that, okay, if this is false, it means that I take the opposite of it and check for its impact on the passage. That can be time consuming, that can lead to errors. It's always easier to process each one of these statements as if they were true. So if I change this to true, if it is false, it contradicts. Now if it is true, it means that it supports. So I've changed the question stem in such a way that these two negatives have cancelled each other out, and now it is possible for us to go ahead and deal with this relatively easily. So let's start. In the Epicurean view, indulging in simple pleasures is not desirable. Yes, this supports the passage. This is consistent. Let me take you to the relevant part. You notice the Epicureans said that we should enjoy simple pleasures, but we should not be indulgent in these. So, yep, this is consistent. Okay, B, despite practicing meditation and cultivating the right attitude, emotions cannot ever be controlled. I remember something along these lines written in the last paragraph where it says that through meditation and the right attitude, one allows emotions to happen to oneself. Right? So, to say that they cannot ever be controlled, that is not consistent with the passage. When you observe, you can achieve some distance and then at least take the right action, and who knows, maybe you can control it. So we cannot be definitely sure of two. Okay, see, in the Stoic view, choosing a reasoned, unemotional response as the first movement is an appropriate response to emotional situations. Looks suspiciously right, but no. In the Stoic view, this was not the first movement but the second movement, and therefore this is not true. So even this gets ruled out. D, the Greek philosopher Zeno survived into the Roman era until about AD 300. Yeah, this philosophy which was started by Zeno started in 300 BC. According to the passage, the philosophy survived until around 300 AD for 600 years. So obviously, when it was started in 300 BC, Zeno has to be alive. Can a person be alive 600 years later? No. So, this is not true. It is the philosophy that survived until then, not the person himself. So, even this can be eliminated. So, considering that B, C and D are ruled out, our answer for this is going to be option A. And with that, let's dive into the next one. Through meditation and the right attitude, one allows emotions to happen to oneself. It is impossible to prevent this, but one is advised to observe the emotions without necessarily acting on them. One achieves some distance and decides what has value and what does not have value. So these are sentences that have been picked up from the last part of the passage, last paragraph. So in the context of the passage, which one of the following is not a possible implication of the quoted statement? So basically, which one of is not a possible implication? So notice, implication, the other side of implication is what? Inference. And look at the word possible. So three of these are going to be hopefully true. Okay. And one is going to be not true. So normally we'd say that we go ahead and pick up the one which is not true as our answer, but then because it also has this possible, it means that even those conclusions which are can't say, which are possibilities, can be considered. So there has to be one which sort of contradicts the passage or is farthest from being true. So we'd go ahead and pick that as our answer. So let's start. How about A? Meditation allows certain out-of-body experiences that permit us to gain the distance necessary to control our emotions. This is not mentioned here at all. So I'd say this is something that cannot be determined. We have no basis, no data to arrive at it. B, emotional responses can make it difficult to distinguish valuable experiences from valueless experiences. Yes, it can make it difficult. That is why we want to gain that distance. So this is true. C, the observation of emotions in a distant manner corresponds to the second movement referred to earlier in the passage. Absolutely yes. If you refer to the first paragraph, you'd find this consistent. D, meditation and the right attitude in this instance implies an initially passive reception of all experiences. Yes, we can actually infer this from this particular part. Will you allow emotion to happen to you? But then you observe it without necessarily acting. So when you're not acting, you're obviously being passive, and therefore D is also true, and thus which one of these is not a possible inference? B, C and D are inferences, so that leaves us with A. So we'd go ahead and mark that as our answer, and with that let's go ahead and dive into our fourth question. So which one of the following statements would be an accurate inference from the example of Marcus Aurelius? So here is that example. Somebody accused him of treason, and then there are these things that are talked about. So let us see. Marcus Aurelius was humiliated by the accusation of treason. Was it an actual instance? Was it an actual instance? Look at what it says. What could have happened if? We are talking about an imaginary scenario, not an actual scenario. So was he humiliated? No. Cannot be determined. I mean, just an imaginary scenario. So, not true. B. Marcus Aurelius was one of the leaders of the Roman army. So, let's see. Maybe my GK kicks in here and I know he was a leader, but then even otherwise, notice that there is a general who's accusing somebody of treason in front of other officers, which indicates that he is also going to be an officer. Any other clue? Look at this. Continuing to lead the Romans in a way. So this definitely seals it. On the basis of this, we can certainly say that he was a leader. So this is true. How about C? Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic whose philosophy survived into the Roman era. Was he a Stoic? We don't know. He's been given as an example now. I know, and once again, GK tells me that he was, but then it was not his philosophy. It was Zeno's philosophy. So the first half is can't say, the second half is false, and therefore C can also be eliminated. Marcus Aurelius plotted revenge in his quest for justice. Once again, this is a hypothetical scenario where he could have engaged in these various responses. Did he do that? I mean, considering that the situation itself was hypothetical, this obviously cannot be inferred, and therefore the only part which is true is B, and therefore that should be the answer. So that's our first passage. And before I sign out, I want to leave you with a thought. Starve your distractions and feed your focus. If you do that, I am sure you'd go ahead and do amazingly well. So that's it from me for this particular session. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep working hard and do let us know as and when you need us. And once again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Press the like button if you enjoyed working with me. That should encourage me to contribute more for you. Okay? So take care. Have a great day ahead.